So I've just got through week 3. Week 3 was the upper limb. Like I said, when I first started doing the week 3, I was a little bit apprehensive about it because week 2 was so difficult compared to this, but this has actually been all right. It's been pretty straightforward. It's been a lot easier actually, so it is basically quite straightforward. There's only 4 movements you've got to do for the testing the power. I did manage to get through it quite, not quite easily. It did take me the full week, but I'd definitely say it didn't take as long as the previous week, with the videos being a little bit shorter, a bit snappier, a bit easier to understand as well. Okay, so we're just starting week 4 now. I've kind of like glossed over it a little bit to start with, and I know already that it's very much related to obviously your rib cage and stuff, and how rib cage depression can obviously affect the lower limb. When we've done the lower limb before, and I've spoken to Shane, he's also said how that affects lower limb injuries as well. So I know that it's what I'm expecting anyway is that it's going to kind of go over the stuff that we've already learned and then add a couple of extra things in there as well, more specifically to obviously the lumbar spine. It does look, from what I've looked at, does look like this seems to be quite a few videos. So I'm a little bit apprehensive of how I'm going to fit that in with my timetable as well, because at the clinic we're doing our half-price massages just so that we can get people in, get them assessed. And obviously that's a really good experience for me to do as well, and I can practice all the work that I've done so far on these patients.
Amy had the middle third, okay, because that's the easiest one to show you. So if I just get you to lie on your side, Amy, please, just facing this way. How to desensitize these. We're going to have our knees about 45 degrees. I'm just going to roll your top up, Amy, if that's okay. And then what I want to do, okay, is I want to be on the rib cage, okay? So we can see here that the rib cage is here, and then the actual attachment, it goes a couple of finger breadths above the rib cage. So I'm on the rib cage, okay? Now I'm a couple of breadths up from the rib cage. I'm sinking into the tendon, okay, and I'm loading down. So I don't slide off Amy's rib cage. By the time I've loaded into the myotendinous junction, I should just feel like I'm just coming to the end of the rib cage, okay? So I'm gonna load into the myotendinous junction, and you can see as I do that, I almost depress Amy's rib cage in itself, okay? So I'm almost helping her to depress the rib cage, lengthen the diaphragm, and now I'm just gonna hold that load through the myotendinous junction.
Okay, so we're just going to go through some of the hands-on techniques for the rib cage. So module 4, like these are probably some of the most important techniques that we're going to use. And I mean, in the clinic, like your low back patients and stuff that you're going to see a lot of the time, these are like really, really common techniques that we use a lot in the clinic. And it's kind of just restoring the ability of that rib cage to depress. So, you know, people struggling with a toe touch, and then even people with a lot of stress, so, you know, emotional stuff going on, that can massively affect their rib cage mobility. And if we can just restore that ability of this rib cage to move a little bit better, it can make a massive difference. And some of the big muscles that are really important for that are like your erector spinae muscles that all attach like from the base of the spine right up to the neck, kind of attaching onto all the individual ribs. So if you just have a lie on your side, Sarah, facing that way. Cool. So people often forget with the iliocostalis especially, which is the big one that we treat regularly, is it actually comes quite lateral on the rib cage. So, you know, a lot of people might treat down into here, but as we look at the image, if you get the anatomy of it up, it actually fans out quite lateral on the rib cage as you go. So one of the best ways to palpate it is if you start kind of lateral on the rib cage and just palpate along in until you kind of feel that tendon. It's almost like a guitar string that you can kind of strum over, and then you can be pretty confident you're on the iliocostalis. So I start right at the intercostal space. I just palpate with my thumb until I get to like that kind of guitar string. And when I can feel that under my thumb, it's normally quite sensitive, then I know I'm in the right spot. Then from here, I'll probably just get Sarah to depress her rib cage, like slouch a little bit more, and then just reach your right hand towards the floor. So nice big reach down, and all I'm doing is I'm just loading the myotendinous junction, and then I'm just holding that tension as Sarah reaches. And I should be able to feel that build under my tension build under my finger. Then I can move up to the next rib, relax for a second. Again, I'm going to palpate. I'm going to locate that tendon, load, and just get Sarah to reach and back. Nice, good, and relax, good. So then when you're doing that with a patient, you just work up all the individual ribs. Again, anywhere that's a little bit sensitive, 2 or 3 reps, I'd expect that to desensitize a little bit. Do a few more reps on that, and then just work up the ribs. And then I get them back up, retest, check the toe touch again. If it's good, great. If it's a little bit better, good. But then we might need to go back and desensitize some of the other tissues that are involved with that as well.